Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity for me to share my fasting journey with you. If I have not seen you before, my name's John Ruman. You probably have. You probably know me, and you probably think I'm wonderful yet crazy, which I hope I've met those expectations. I have hit the start of day 7 about 2.5 hours ago, and it's been a wonderful and beautiful journey. So far, I have, because people always ask me this, but today I'm really focused on the helping women get into fasting, because I've had several women reach out to me, and I'm here to help them. And if you can, the people who are on, if you ever have questions, my plan is, and this is how I've been kind of doing this, it's kind of the blessing of having 40 days. If you have questions, what you can do is just message me whatever platform you're on, and because I'm on 3 platforms right now, and then you can ask these questions. If I don't see them where I am in my program, I'm in a new program today, but if I don't see them, I'll go into the live, I'll go through and read them, and then I'll address them either in the moment or in a future live, because I do like to answer people's questions, and I appreciate people watching and learning and all that. So let me give you a brief update of weight loss, because that's a common question I get. So as of this morning, drum roll. So today was the 7th morning, and I have lost, well, first of all, you're going to appreciate this. I've had almost 1 to 2 pounds I lost every day. 1 to 2 pounds every day. So my other long fasts I've done, it ended up being about 1 pound a day, and here's how I'm seeing it. So let me give you kind of a summary. So in my first day, I lost 1.5 pounds, and I'm going to tell you why it's important to realize this. Second day, I lost 3.1 pounds. Third day, I lost 1.3. Fourth day, I lost 4.2. Fifth day, I lost 2.7. Sixth day, I lost just 0.9 pounds. And then yesterday, I lost, in the past 24 hours, I lost 0.2. So I'm bringing this up as people always come to me with the concept of, and I respect it. It is a way to lose weight, but the problem with fasting is it doesn't fix what's making people heavy. See what I'm saying? So it's nice, you do lose weight, but I wouldn't necessarily do it purely with that. Try to heal what's underlying, which causes the weight to kind of come back. Because a lot of people go through fasting and I may lose 45, 50 pounds in this fast. But, or even, who knows, maybe more. I mean, so far, I am 20 pounds lost in a week. So since last week, and I'm not even through the full 7 days, I'm 2 hours into 7 days, I've lost 20. No, I'm sorry. I can't read my own handwriting. Excuse me. Correction, not 20 pounds. I have lost 13 pounds, so about 2 pounds a day. So 13 pounds in that time frame. Someone's going to cut it and say, John lost 20 pounds in a week. God bless the internet. So so again, the reason I bring this up time and time again is you're losing about 1 pound to half a pound in real life. The initial massive drop primarily is water weight. So please understand that. Please understand that. So now my weight is going to be 1 pound a day. So just get that. Okay, let's jump to women. So again, questions, keep them coming. And women. So I get a lot of questions from women, and I believe it was 2 or 3 people asking me the same question. I'd love to fast, but it's hard for me. I'm a woman. And there's a very real reason for this. If we simplify and take things back a few thousand years when, let's say, when kind of like Ice Age time, when humanity wasn't really in its heyday, we had a lot of hunter-gatherer kind of early agrarian societies. And men would go out and hunt, and women would take care of the home, maybe do farming, raise the children. It wasn't even that long ago, you think about it. But I bring this up because men's metabolisms are better designed for that. They're designed to starve for 2 days, come back with massive meals. Women's metabolisms are less so. And because women have a menstrual cycle every 20 some odd days, 28 days typically, a couple days before that and during it, the body has real challenges. So what is typically recommended is that women learn the menstrual cycle, even get an app that you can like accurately track it or put it on a physical calendar somewhere so you know. And then you can get a good idea when your next menstrual cycle will be. And then once you've finished your menstrual cycle, you want to finish fasting 2 or 3 days prior to the start of the next likely menstrual cycle. And something you're going to find, because this is a very common theme amongst women who've actually gone to start doing fasting, and this also coincides with people who have eaten cleaner, and by eating cleaner I mean people who have moved to a vegetable and fruit more heavy diet, so maybe not eliminating breads and grains and meats, but going heavier that way. Which the real cool thing about that too, a lot of the weight loss that people try and aspire to can happen by moving to eating that way. But a lot of people have gut issues, and that's a whole other thing. So women are typically challenged until they hit menopause, then fasting becomes cake because they don't have the issues of not only the hormonal cycle, but also the menstrual cycle. Menstruation for women is a form of detox as well. And you'll notice menstrual blood really has a strong scent to it. And one of the things that women who go through fasting and have really cleaned up diet and really done a lot of regular fasting, they have little, like the lightest, most unpainful, unstinky, tiny amount of blood menstrual cycle than they do normally. And I think this is not backed up by science or proven by anything, but I think what's actually happening is because the menstrual cycle acts as a cleaning, detoxing cycle for the body, these women are actually getting those detoxifying benefits through fasting. The menstrual cycle just doesn't have to be as heavy. I know this from maybe I have worked closely with maybe 4 or 5 people women who have done fasting with me, and we played with it and really did a lot of intermittent fasting and all that. With all fasting, for everyone, especially women, they should get used to doing intermittent fasting. And the goal for the fasting part of the intermittent fasting cycle, and intermittent fasting is just not eating 3 square meals a day. It's delaying breakfast and maybe eating dinner, or eating for the first half of the day and then not eating for the second half of the day. So in other words, you eat in more compressed window of time instead of just having this like wake up, eat breakfast, eat lunch at midday, eat dinner at 6. So that would be a helpful thing for people. And once you get above 16, 17 hours, a lot of the health benefits happen. And again, I want to notice, and I will start getting the comments. I'll ask you, if you are watching this to this length, are you noticing anti-aging in my face, skin, etc.? And what I would encourage you to do is go back. And the reason I bring it up is now's the time that it starts to happen. And I never know how clear it is on the camera, but in the mirror I can see, and my wife told me yesterday, she goes, "You're looking about 5-10 years younger." And it's around day 5, 6, 7 that the anti-aging part really kicks in. And again, today's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so Friday is when I really should probably start looking the youngest. So the only challenge is a lot of fasting, your body just wants to sleep some days. And I don't always give my body the rest it requests, but I do my best to honor that. So with that, today was relatively short. We're about 10 minutes in. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll probably have a topic again based on what people have asked me question-wise. I love and appreciate you. If you need, again, if I can do anything to be of assistance, I'm happy to do so. At this point, I'm not like doing a coaching program or kind of fasting program. This is kind of for me. Again, my goal, I'll tell you briefly, is I had done in 2021 a huge amount of fasting, and I had, the plan was I got compelled, I get kind of intuitively compelled to do 100 days of fasting that year. It was almost like a challenge from the divine. And what happened is I was doing 1 week per month. And a couple months I did 2 weeks, which is obviously a lot of the time, but I was a little falling behind, so I said, I'll do 2 weeks. And then around August, September, I just didn't fast. I just didn't feel. So what I did was I said, you know what? And not everyone would necessarily believe me, but one of my blessings is to actually talk with heavenly beings, let's say. And I actually got challenged by Jesus, Yeshua, and he goes, and publicly, it's the first time I'm actually talking about this, because I tell my wife and I talk about this stuff all the time, but Yeshua challenged me. He goes, John, why don't you try my fast? And I said, okay, all right, I'll give it a go. So I started, and I did pretty well. I was totally fine, honestly, about 25, 28 days in. Totally fine. Wasn't. The great thing about any of this, by the way, and you'll notice this in your life in general, when you set forth something that's far out and you know you have a while to reach it, it doesn't make it a big deal. It's only when it gets close to the deadline that you start noticing. So I believe it was day 32. Day 32, I'm in bed. When you fast, you go to bed early. Your body needs like 9 hours, 9.5 hours, 10 hours sleep versus 7, 8, whatever the heck you normally give it. Just needs more rest. There's a lot of healing happening, and the body needs that. So I'm in bed at 9:30, passed out. Poof, day's done. And I get woken up around 11:30 midnight. I looked at the clock. I believe it was roughly midnight. And there was a voice in my head. It was not John. I now fully recognize this. This voice was saying, John, you're starving. Why don't you look up where to buy a calzone or a large pizza? Who's open now? And this voice is saying, there's all these delivery apps. They're all around. This is 2021. This is like, COVID's happening. Maybe not pure heavy COVID, but COVID's happening. Delivery services are out. And I looked up, and there were places that had calzones and pizza and all the delicious stuff that I would want if I were starving. I said, well, screw you, I'm going to bed. The next morning, this voice said, John, you're starving. You got to eat something. And I ate something. I had, my wife had some delicious organic grapes that we had frozen. And I took a handful and I ate them. That was the first thing I'd eaten. It was day 32 and day 33 of the fast. And on my official strict OCD, I'm being perfect with my fasting, I recorded 32 days, but I have 4 days of this weird thing that I was doing, in that I basically every day would have a handful or two of these grapes, which calorically are not that much, less than 150 calories. And honestly, the majority of the fasting would still happen. But in my mind, I don't have calories. I'm not going to cheat this thing. I'm going to be fine. So every night, this voice would wake me up until this 4th day, and I didn't make 40 days. I stopped. But in my head, because I had eaten even those grapes, I'm like, I've cheated. I'm done. So I told my wife, and she actually was like, John, you're eating the grapes. Why the hell don't you just stop the fast? And she was right. So I stopped the fast. But in hindsight, and this I believe, if anyone here has studied the Bible or read it, regardless of being Christian or not, you'll notice there are 3 masters in that Bible. Elijah, Moses, Jesus or Yeshua. All 3 of them taught and demonstrated, even if they didn't teach. A lot of the teaching of the Bible in these high-level books are actually done by a demonstration, because the people aren't necessarily ready at the time they're written to really teach what needs to be taught. So they're like, we'll teach it, and for those who are ready, eyes to see, ears to hear later on, they'll understand it. So what I think is really happening, I think is one of the more profound teachings of this New and Old Testament, was that 40 days is what it takes to to really break all the bondages of these demonic beings. And the being that was waking me up at midnight, it wasn't me. This was not John. It was a voice in my head, but it was not me. And a blessing that I've had since that 2021 time frame is I've actually learned how to cast out demons, how to deliver and all that kind of good stuff. And I've actually done 4, 5, or 6 demons of my own that I've had on me since I've learned how to rebuke, cast out, deliver is the term. But what's awesome, and this is actually why I'm doing this. This is really the why. If you want to know the why, this is it. Weight loss, great. Rejuvenation, great. I'm all happy for that. But I want to literally get rid of the last real big demon that's attached to this body temple of mine. And I'm ready. And what happens, and I'll do a brief teaching on the demonic world. There's a famous quote. I don't know where it came from. A lot of people can't really find the source. But the biggest something the devil ever told was basically telling the world or pretending he doesn't exist, like pretending he's not there. Whatever, the biggest trick, you know the quote. But the point is these demonic beings, which once your inner sight or third eye, as they call it in some circles, opens up, you actually have expanded vision of what's out there. And for me, I get more impressions. I don't have like all the time vision. But if you want to read a book of someone who has like full-time, fully on psychic vision, it's a book called The Veil by Blake Healy. And Blake Healy is a powerful, profound author in this respect because he kind of comes out talking about these things. But a lot of our natural gifts come out through us believing that they're there, and it's worth reading, is my point. And he has several books, but his first one is amazing, and they're all incredible. But I'm bringing this up because the world we live in is actually full of these guys, and we're just kind of in these physical 3D meat suits. And it is a powerful, the human body is a powerful body temple, but what we perceive as physical is actually layered. So we are in a solid, solid 3D dimension, but there's layers of dimensions on top that are not physical, and these demons live there. And they try to hide. So for example, if someone has one that comes out, it's at that moment you can rebuke it. If it's not showing itself, which you'll often see if you ever look up deliverance ministry, Isaiah Salvador, Pagani, there's a handful of these deliverance ministry people. There's about 5 or 6 of them, and there's a whole group, and they're amazing. When they basically call forth, or basically call out or say, hey, come out, I want you to come out, and it helps to actually name the demon, or entity. In doing so, the demon shows itself. And I'll give you an example. So I used to have a demon that would want me to drink alcohol. And I would think about alcohol. And this is with any addiction. Most addictions that we think are like not ours aren't ours. It's an influence of something that's attached to us. And there are people who can see them and sense them and all that kind of good stuff. And I get glimpses, as I say, but I'm not seeing them all the time. But I can sometimes, if I feel into someone, I can sense they're there on a person, but not always. The reason I bring up the 40-day demon on John is it does not rear its head until I starve it out. So that demon was quiet. 28, 29 days, 30 days, 31, 32. It's like, yo, wake up, brother. I need to eat. And you got to eat something that's going to save me. So it literally, they can read your mind. You got to understand this. They know our weaknesses, and they go after your weaknesses. And then, so I'll just give you a handful. I've had, a few of the demons I've rebuked in my life, as I just said, I had one relative to alcohol, one relative to caffeine, and it was basically, the caffeine was one of stimulation. It wanted my body stimulated so it can kind of take some of that energy. All they do is they siphon our energy, so that's all they do. The reason food demons are so prevalent is that food everyone does, and they will just try to get people to eat more than they should, and then that feeling you get of getting full or having that need satisfied, they just siphon. And one of the most powerful and prevalent in the world is actually sex and pornography and all that. That's why pornography, most of these online hubs are actually riddled with these demons basically waiting for people. They basically pounce on them once they get there. So anyway, that really wasn't the intention for today, but it's an important talk because I did not believe it until I saw these things, and I'm like, all right, Jesus did it. Jesus did it a lot. A lot of his ministry was actually these casting out of these demons. So I tested it, and it freaking works. I'll briefly tell you the coffee one, and then I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. So what happened was I felt what I thought was an unnecessarily large draw and desire to have coffee. So I live 5 to 7 minutes east and west from different Starbucks stores. And come every morning, if I'm out, what was happening when I had this demon is I would have this powerful urge to have coffee. And I was like, this has got to be a demon. Like, why the hell would John want coffee so much? It's just coffee, you know? So first of all, before I got in the car, I recognized it, and it was showing its head because it wanted the coffee. Again, they have to show themselves. So it showed its head and revealed itself. I was like, okay, cool. And I was literally salivating wanting this coffee because I was out and needed to buy more. So what was happening, and by the way, it'll, if your money is low, it'll try to find a way maybe to get a cup. Like, it does whatever it can to get what its fix. So I was yearning for this coffee, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to go to Starbucks. And then I had to identify, because I had learned through these deliverance ministries, that these demons, the more specific you can be to what the demon is really trying to do or trying to pull from you or whatever, the more it comes out. It's kind of like saying, well, pretend that person's name's Sally. Hey, Sally. Like, Sally responds instead of, hey, you. That's kind of what it is. So when you say, hey, you to them, they saw me, kind of like calling them out, because they like to live in the shadows. So I kind of went through what was happening, and I told you a few minutes ago, it was stimulation. This thing was trying to get me, basically to get my adrenal system stimulated by the caffeine, so I would have that temporary excitement energetically, and it would take that and it would be happy. That's how it would be fed. So I go to Starbucks on my way, and as I'm driving, it gets really excited, this thing inside me. And it's like, this is totally irrational. Why would I ever get so excited about coffee? It's like, I'm going to get coffee soon. And it's almost like you've ever seen the, I can't remember his name, Gollum in Lord of the Rings, like, my precious, totally all excited about getting this coffee. His coffee fix. It's coffee fix. I have no idea if gender exists in these things at all. Anyway, so I keep on going, and I said, okay, about 3 minutes away at this point, I'm like, I'm going to rebuke this guy, because he was totally showing himself. He was excited. I'm just going to call it he. He's totally excited. And I said, all right. And I rebuked it, and the language is very simple. You'll probably see this, you know. And I can explain the whole rebuking process. But basically you say, in the name of the Christ, I rebuke, and I said, I rebuke this spirit of stimulation. And I did it maybe 2 or 3 times. So I rebuke this, did it in the name of Christ. And it's kind of a stern, firm way of talking. And that was it. So it must have been 30 seconds. But again, I think the important things that I had heard is the demon needs to present itself. So I was feeling it. It was hungry. I cast it out in the name of the Christ. I cast out this demon. You can say in the name of Jesus Christ. There's nothing wrong with that, but the Christ works as well. Because I've done it several times, just saying in the name of the Christ. And in doing so, I wasn't sure if it worked. I didn't feel any like dramatic difference in the moment. So if you're in Trinidad, you'll probably know this. You probably know this Starbucks. It's the one by Trin City. So I just kept on going pretty much straight through the roundabout, and I said, I'm going to pass it. And I went, and I go to a coconut vendor, whatever. I said, okay. And by a minute or 2 after I had passed it, it was gone. Totally gone. And I'm like trying to tune in to wanting coffee. It was like, you can have some and you'll probably be happy with it, but you don't need it. So the need, like this crazy thing, that was gone. Totally gone. Totally gone. Not somewhat gone. Gone. And it has not come back. I do drink coffee now, but here's the fascinating thing. Before, when I would drink coffee, it would often taste delicious. Who do you think thinks it tastes delicious? This being is basically, I think, slightly tweaking with my mind a little bit to have that more like, this is wonderful, to kind of, propagate this habit. Since then, it's been bitter. And you know how people who don't drink coffee are like, why do you drink coffee? It's bitter. So obviously some coffees can be made creamier flavor and all that, but I don't add sugar or anything. I always drink my coffee straight black. And I have noticed this, that coffee is bitter now, whereas before it wasn't. I never tasted bitterness in coffee, and I think it was because of this crazy thing happening. So, and again, I could probably count 6 or 7, maybe 8 or 9 demons that have gone away. I did an alcohol one, again, as I said, and I'm trying to get rid of this final food one. So that's why I'm fasting. So thanks for listening. I appreciate you. And again, any questions you have, I welcome them. I am here to serve, here to help. I'm not giving medical advice. Don't ever take this as medical advice. If you, especially if you're having medication, if you have health problems, all that, always talk to a doctor, physician, because once you go beyond a couple days, there's a chance, because what happens is the body detoxes heavily. So once you get beyond 2 or 3 days, the body begins dumping stuff in your system. And let's say you've had this drug you've been taking for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. That drug starts getting dumped in your system, and that can mess you up. So luckily I'm not on any drugs. I'm very clean, all that kind of good stuff. But just be aware of it. So for example, on Saturday, I went to hang out with a bunch of friends, and we had cigars. I didn't have any alcohol, but I had cigars. And every time I have to have cigars, the next day it comes out of me, and I get fever and feel just exhausted and have a headache. And but then it's gone. Now it's totally out of my system. All right, so have an amazing night. Thank you so much for listening to this. We are a week in. I'll be finishing my day tomorrow, obviously, but I always do these lives when I've started that new day. So I'm starting the day of day 7. So I've not finished day 7, but I'm in day 7. So many blessings, much love. I'll see you mañana. Bye-bye.